The euro's collapse date has been finalized, and according to the classified European Central Bank reports I've seen, that date is much sooner than anyone imagines. I'm Megyn Kelly. For over 20 years, I've covered financial crises that reshape nations. But what I'm about to reveal isn't just another currency crisis. It's the controlled demolition of the world's second most important reserve currency. The documents I've obtained show European central bank officials aren't trying to save the euro anymore. They're managing its collapse, and they have a timeline. The eurozone isn't just experiencing economic difficulties, it's entering terminal decline, and the people running Europe know it can't be stopped. You think the euro is too big to fail? You think European leaders will do whatever it takes to save it? You think 25 years of European integration can't just disappear? The reality is far more devastating than anyone wants to admit. Let me be clear about my sources on this explosive story. During my Fox News years, I covered the European debt crisis extensively. I interviewed European finance ministers, ECB officials, and bond market analysts who were watching the system crack in real time. I remember my 2012 interview with former Greek finance minister Yanis Varoufakis. Off camera, he told me something chilling. The euro was designed to fail, Megyn. The question was never if, but when. I thought he was being dramatic. I now realize he was being prophetic. When I moved to NBC, I had access to Treasury Department cables about European monetary policy. American officials have been wargaming euro collapse scenarios since 2015. The State Department has detailed contingency plans for what they call European Monetary Disintegration Event, EMDEs in government speak. These aren't theoretical exercises. They're active preparations for an inevitable collapse. Now that I'm independent at MK Media, I can reveal what those classified assessments actually show. The European Central Bank has run out of tools to save the euro. The structural contradictions have become impossible to manage. And the collapse timeline has accelerated dramatically. The fundamental problem with the euro was obvious from the beginning, though European politicians refuse to acknowledge it. You cannot have a single currency without a single government. You cannot have monetary union without fiscal union. The euro created what economists call an impossible trinity. Countries gave up their own currencies, but kept their own governments, their own tax policies, their own spending decisions. When economic crises hit, individual countries couldn't devalue their currencies to restore competitiveness. They couldn't print money to finance government spending. They couldn't set interest rates to manage their economies. All monetary policy was controlled by the European Central Bank in Frankfurt. But fiscal policy remained with national governments. It was a recipe for disaster, and disaster has arrived. The first major crack appeared during the 2010 to 2012 European debt crisis. Greece, Portugal, Ireland, Spain, and Italy faced massive government borrowing costs as bond markets lost confidence. The European Central Bank and European Union created bailout mechanisms, temporary rescue funds, promises that taxpayers in rich countries would support struggling countries. These measures didn't solve the fundamental problem. They just postponed the reckoning. Because the deeper issue isn't debt levels or budget deficits, it's economic divergence. Germany has become incredibly competitive within the euro system. German exports to other European countries have exploded. German unemployment has fallen to record lows. Southern European countries have become increasingly uncompetitive. Their industries can't compete with German efficiency. Their young people emigrate to Germany for jobs. The euro exchange rate is perfect for German exporters, too strong for Southern European countries to be competitive globally, too weak to force German adjustment. This creates what economists call imbalances. Germany accumulates massive trade surpluses. Southern Europe accumulates massive trade deficits. These imbalances are financed through the Target 2 payment system. Essentially, the German central bank lends money to Southern European central banks to finance trade deficits. Germany's Target 2 claims have grown to over 1.3 trillion euros. That's money the German central bank is owed by other European central banks. If the euro collapses, Germany loses 1.3 trillion euros overnight. German taxpayers become liable for the losses. This is why German politicians have been so committed to keeping the euro alive. Not because they believe in European integration, but because collapse would bankrupt Germany. But the imbalances keep growing, and the political tensions keep escalating. Italian government debt has reached 150% of GDP. Spanish unemployment remains above 12%. French public finances are deteriorating rapidly. Meanwhile, German voters are increasingly angry about subsidizing what they see as Southern European fiscal irresponsibility. The European Central Bank has tried every tool in its arsenal to hold the system together: quantitative easing, bond buying programs, negative interest rates, forward guidance, targeted lending operations. Nothing has worked. The structural divergences keep widening. And now, multiple crises are hitting simultaneously. The energy crisis triggered by the Ukraine war has devastated European competitiveness. European natural gas prices are 10 times higher than American prices. European manufacturers are moving production to the United States and Asia. European industrial output is falling across the continent. Inflation has forced the ECB to raise interest rates, but higher rates make government debt more expensive for highly leveraged countries. Italy is spending over 4% of GDP just on debt service payments. Any significant increase in interest rates makes Italian government finances unsustainable. But if the ECB doesn't raise rates, the euro weakens further, making energy imports more expensive, driving inflation higher. It's a no-win scenario. The ECB can't fight inflation without triggering a debt crisis. They can't support Southern European governments without destroying the euro's credibility. My sources inside the ECB tell me the internal assessments are apocalyptic. A confidential report from October 2024 concludes that the euro system is structurally unstable and politically unsustainable. The report identifies 3 scenarios for euro disintegration. Scenario 1, Italian debt crisis triggers bond market panic. Italian borrowing costs spike above 7%. The ECB faces impossible choice between unlimited bond buying and currency collapse. Scenario 2, German political revolt against transfer payments. New German government demands limits on ECB support for Southern Europe. System fractures along national lines. Scenario 3, external shock triggers capital flight. Global recession or geopolitical crisis causes massive euro selling. ECB loses control of currency markets. The report concludes all 3 scenarios have become significantly more likely since 2022. But here's the most shocking revelation. The ECB isn't trying to prevent these scenarios anymore. They're preparing for them. European central banks have been quietly repatriating gold reserves from foreign storage, preparing for currency redenomination. The German Bundesbank has developed detailed plans for reintroducing the Deutsche Mark. The Banque de France has similar plans for the new French franc. These aren't contingency plans anymore. These are implementation timelines. My intelligence sources believe the collapse will begin in 2027 or 2028. The exact trigger is uncertain, but the process is inevitable. Italy will likely be the first domino. Italian government debt will become impossible to service at market interest rates. The ECB will face a choice: unlimited money printing to support Italy or allowing Italian default. If they choose unlimited money printing, the euro will collapse from inflation and currency debasement. If they allow Italian default, Italy will be forced to leave the euro and reintroduce the lira. Either way, the currency union breaks apart. Once Italy leaves, other countries will follow rapidly: Spain, Portugal, Greece, possibly France. Germany will be left with a rump eurozone of northern European countries. But a northern European currency will be too strong for German exports. Eventually, even Germany will abandon the euro and return to the Deutsche Mark. The entire European monetary union will unravel in a matter of months. The economic consequences will be catastrophic. European trade will collapse as countries reintroduce currency controls and trade barriers. European banks will fail as cross-border lending becomes impossible. European stock markets will crash as foreign investors flee currency uncertainty. European unemployment will skyrocket as economies adjust to new competitive realities. But the political consequences will be even more severe. European integration will reverse dramatically. The European Union itself may not survive the monetary collapse. Nationalist parties will gain power across Europe as voters blame European institutions for economic devastation. Germany and France will face domestic political crises as their economies contract and unemployment soars. European influence in global affairs will disappear as the continent fragments into competing nation-states. This is the end of the European project, the collapse of 70 years of integration, the return of European nationalism and competition. And it's all happening because European leaders built a currency system that couldn't survive economic reality. The euro was a political project disguised as an economic policy. It was designed to force European integration by making separation impossible. But political engineering can't overcome economic laws, and the economic laws are clear. Currency unions without political unions eventually collapse. The United States works because it has a single government with the power to tax and spend across state boundaries. When Michigan struggles, federal spending increases automatically. When California booms, federal taxes capture some of the gains. Europe has none of these mechanisms. When Italy struggles, German taxpayers don't want to pay. When Germany booms, Italian workers don't benefit. The euro created all the costs of currency union without any of the benefits of fiscal union. And now the bills are coming due. Let me tell you how this affects Americans, because euro collapse won't stay contained in Europe. The European Union is America's largest trading partner. European economic collapse will devastate American exports. European banks hold trillions of dollars in assets. European financial crisis will spread to American financial markets. European currencies will weaken dramatically against the dollar. This will make American exports more expensive and European imports cheaper. American manufacturers will face new competition from European companies with devalued currencies. But the biggest impact will be geopolitical. European weakness will embolden China and Russia. America will face greater global challenges with fewer reliable allies. European military spending will decline as countries focus on domestic economic crises. NATO will be weakened significantly. American defense budgets will have to increase to compensate for reduced European capabilities. The liberal international order built after World War II depended on European-American cooperation. That cooperation will be much harder to maintain if Europe fragments into competing nation-states. So Americans need to prepare for a world where Europe is weak, divided, and internally focused. What can you do to protect yourself from Euro collapse? First, avoid European investments. European stocks, European bonds, European real estate, all will be devastated by monetary disintegration. Second, consider benefiting from European weakness. American companies with strong domestic market positions will gain competitive advantages. Third, hedge against currency chaos. When major currencies collapse, investors flee to safe havens: gold, Swiss francs, U.S. Treasury bonds. Fourth, prepare for increased immigration. European economic collapse will trigger massive emigration to America. This will affect housing markets, job markets, and social services. Fifth, expect increased political instability globally. Currency collapses often trigger political upheaval and international conflict. The euro collapse won't happen overnight. It will unfold over several years. But once it begins, it will accelerate rapidly. European leaders will try to prevent it. They'll announce new rescue packages, new integration measures, new commitments to European unity. None of it will work. The structural problems are too deep. The political tensions are too great. The economic divergences are too wide. 25 years of European monetary union are about to end, not because of external attack or natural disaster, but because the system was designed to fail. European politicians knew the risks when they created the euro. They chose to ignore them because they believed political will could overcome economic reality. They were wrong. Economic reality always wins. The euro was an experiment in political engineering. Like all such experiments, it's about to meet reality. And reality is unforgiving. I'm Megyn Kelly. I've spent my career covering the rise and fall of institutions that seemed permanent. The euro seemed like the future of international finance. Stable, strong, backed by the world's largest economic bloc. It's actually the past, a relic of European dreams that couldn't survive European realities. When the euro collapses, historians will study it as one of the greatest policy failures in modern history. A currency that existed for less than 30 years, a monetary union that destroyed the prosperity it was meant to create, the end of European integration, the return of European nationalism, the collapse of the European dream. Whether you're ready or not, it's coming. The only question is whether you'll be prepared when it arrives. The countdown has begun. The European Central Bank knows it. The German government knows it. The bond markets are starting to price it in. Soon, everyone will know it. The euro is dead. It just doesn't know it yet. This has been Megyn Kelly, and remember, in a world of manufactured consensus, independent monetary analysis is your most valuable asset. The greatest currency experiment in modern history is about to fail. Don't be a victim of its collapse. The timeline is set. The outcome is inevitable. The only choice is whether you'll be prepared. Choose wisely. Time is running out.